Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a transitioning male from biologically female to male. So my pronouns are he, him, his.
How old were you when you knew that you were a boy?
I think I was, it's funny because when I was younger, I kind of always wanted to be a boy. I just never knew that I could. But since I was like 11, I was always cross-dressing.
Okay.
I always wanted to like tuck my hair into like a snapback and look like a boy and whatnot. But when I found out that you could transition to whoever you want to be, I think I was about 16, and that's when I came out to both my school and family of wanting to transition from female to male.
Okay. Who was the first person that you came out to?
My mother.
Your mom. And she was here with you today, obviously a big support for you.
Very supportive. She's like my cheerleader.
Oh, awesome. You guys are close?
Yeah.
Awesome. So what was that like? Did she know? Was she surprised? Did you have to educate her?
Well, I've heard so many stories of people coming out, and there's so many times where it's almost scary because you don't know how your parents are going to react. So I almost broke down in tears telling my mom, and she just kind of said, "Oh, I kind of figured." And then I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, this is not so bad." And she just went, "So do you want to go buy boy clothes then?" I was like, "Yeah." So she's been supportive from the start, but she also took gender studies, so
okay.
she was really well educated in a sense where she couldn't understand what I was going through, but she could comprehend. Throughout transitioning, especially for people that don't identify as their biological sex, oftentimes they feel this thing called gender dysphoria, which makes you just very uncomfortable in the body that you're born in. So I would always wear baggy clothes because I used to have a chest,
right.
And then it was my mom that helped me research into finding really good binders that would compress, so I didn't look as full in this area. And then from there, it was just a matter of how to go further in transitioning to who I feel I am, and I know I am. So yeah, it was first researching how to properly bind, and after that it was finding gender therapists to help me start testosterone, and then finding a surgeon to help me with my top surgery.
Okay, good. When you came out, did you immediately then, from that day forward, identify as he, him? How did that work?
Pretty much, yeah. There were times where I was just like, am I confused? And I think that's something that commonly even happens, because there's always some people out there that don't understand, say, things such as I think you're just confused, and then if you hear it enough times, you're almost like, am I?
Right.
But then when you sit down and you know yourself and you block all of that out, you're just kind of like, no, I know who I am. I know who I want to be. It's no different than putting a goal out and what you want to be as a person. I want to be more kind, or I want to be more tactful, or that. So when you sit down and really try to get to know yourself, no one else can tell you otherwise who you are, right? So I've had doubts within my transition, and there were many times where I'm like, it'd be easier if I just didn't do this, but there's just something about being open about who you are that just makes you feel secure when you're put into this box and told, no, you have to be this certain way. You don't feel like yourself, and that's very compressing, mentally. So yeah, ever since I came out, I've been happy transitioning as a male. So.
And so what does that transition look like? I know there's hormones involved.
Yeah, so what I like to say is that everyone's experience is different. No one can go through the identical transition. There's some people who are too scared to get the surgeries or the hormones, but they're still welcome to identify as whoever they want. But then there's other people who have such severe dysphoria where they really want to pursue these things. So for me personally, I was terrified of needles, and I almost stopped gender hormonal therapy because because of that, but for me, growing facial hair and having my voice, get deeper, that was so important to me, feeling who I am on the outside. Because I know who I am on the inside, but I can't show that to people, You can't pick and choose what your face looks like or how you present yourself to others. They just see what they see.
Right. And so this is really about showing others how you see yourself and having that outward image match what you feel on the inside.
Yeah. Pretty much seem as close as a cis-male as I possibly can, because that's how I feel on the inside. It's just bringing that out.
Okay. So that, passing as a male is important to you.
It's so important to me, yeah.
Okay. And so that leads us a little bit to why you're here today.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about why you're here today and how you found out about areola tattooing at Cinema Girl Clinic.
So, I had top surgery about, I'd say over 2 years ago. And it's very common for the procedure to not always go perfectly. It is what it is. Some things are just out of your power. So it's very common for the placement to kind of not go as properly as you'd hope, which everyone's scarring kind of goes differently, You can never fully assume how it goes. So for me, it was my mother who showed me this place because she saw this ad that I think it was for mainly women who had breast cancer or breast reduction, where they were able to make these women more comfortable after their procedures, where their nipples kind of look more normal. And for me, I have one that's normal, but one thing that's very common in even just recovering from top surgery is your nipple can fall off. I did not know that for a while. So in the recovery, there's a lot of scabbing, a lot of healing. Your areola stays on, but the nipple can fall off. So for me, I have one that's intact and one that's not, so I'm hoping to get one tattooed on so I can get more comfortable in my skin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing that I definitely want to get done is I want to further masculinize my body, because I still have curves from my biological sex. So I've seen a lot of videos of people transitioning, and they just work the heck out and whatnot, and it's just finding the correct diet and then the right routine for me. That's something I plan on pursuing, but I haven't gotten to it yet. More things are there's typically 2 surgeries that people who change sexes go through. So there's top surgery and there's bottom surgery. I do know that eventually I do want bottom surgery, but that one's a bit more complicated.
Absolutely.
For somebody who's born a male but wanted to transition to a female, you're practically getting rid of something, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to somebody who's transitioning from female to male, you're almost making something out of nothing, right? So it's a lot more complicated, and it's something I'm hesitant on. But when practices are better, where it's more intact and looks more natural, that's something I want to get done. But it's scary for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about the physical side of things, but I know that this comes with an entire emotional journey as well.
It has been a crazy journey. When I was younger and I was just a teenager, I would get so angry the moment that anybody didn't just understand, but we're just not there yet where people are educated enough on just people transitioning or gender identity, and that's unfortunate. And because of that, I've went through a lot of depression. I've went through a lot of anxiety attacks. If someone bumped into me and either looked at my chest when I had one or heard my voice and said she, my God, did it make me sad. It's just you want to present yourself a certain way, and when you can't exactly reach that for people to see what you want them to see, it's heartbreaking. But the further I grew within my transition, the more I understood it. Alright, don't be mad because people don't understand. got confused because my hair's a bit long because I'm growing out this mullet. And she said, "Excuse me, ma'am," and then I turned, and then she saw the beard and was like, "I'm so sorry. I thought you were a woman," and I was just like, "It's fine. I would have been confused too. My hair's pretty lengthy and whatnot." Like, I don't get mad at people anymore if they don't understand. And what matters most is that she corrected herself.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like that's what meant a lot to me.
Okay.
So of course I was sad, but I was also like, okay, but she saw the back of my head, you know? So there's no knowing. And with me, I'm very short. I'm like 5'4", which commonly that can happen to cis men too, but typically they're taller. So if people see me from the back and they see my height, they just automatically assume I'm a woman, which fair enough. I'm not going to get mad at that. There's some people that are lucky enough that have pretty masculine features enough that when they transition, they look like a cis-male.
Did you change your name?
Yeah, I mean, not legally yet. That's something that I do plan on getting done. It just takes a lot of paperwork.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because there's just times where you're just like, these signs should prove from at a young age. Yeah, I was definitely meant to be a boy because, again, I used to wear boy clothes. I used to hang out with boys more than I did girls. I was very much a tomboy. And on top of that, I always loved the name Chris. And I was always like, I wish my name was Chris. And then there were times where I'd ask people to call me Christy before I transitioned, and I knew that I could transition. But when you just know, you know, and then you look back and dig deeper even in your childhood, and you're like, yeah, no, it all makes sense, you know?
Absolutely. This is going to be your first tattoo?
This is going to be my first tattoo. I know I want to get this done, so am I nervous? Absolutely. But I'm also excited.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of people, again, it's bringing out who I feel on the inside out, you know? Even when I went to the pool for the first time after my top surgery, I think a month ago, maybe a little more than that. And after my 2 years after top surgery, that was the first time. And the placement's a little weird, it looks a bit wonky, you know, there's scarring. So I had a lot of people look at me and just look at me confused, like, what's going on with him? And if I can get to a point where I just look normal on the outside without looking like, you know, there's something wrong and draw less attention, it's good to embrace that you're different and that you're one of a kind, but oftentimes for transgender people, we also want to blend in society. We just want people to see us how we feel. So it's really important for me that if I go out, I'm not scared of people looking at me weird. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just a person. I'm just out shirtless, going swimming. But that time, people were looking at me a little funny, like, what's going on? You know, it's a matter of kind of ending that, or at least preventing it as much as possible.
Of course. Do you ever get like hate, or have you felt hate or like unsafe?
Yes, all the time. I've had people tell me that I'm an abomination, that I'm a freak, all this and that. And you know, I used to resent people for it, but I know that is from probably their own pain and just lack of knowledge. And I don't think it's ever too late to further understand people and try to gather that information to better understand. So I've definitely gotten hate. I've had people with different religions come to me and say I'm going to hell because I'm against what God made me, or things like that. And it hurt. It definitely hurt, but you know, like I'd always like, I don't know if I'm religious, but I also would think to myself, if God is real, that means he made me the way he made me. If that's how they want to see it, you know, I don't see any abomination. I'm just a little different, but who isn't, you know? Yeah. Just know that you're unique in your own way, and even if people don't understand, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, you know? Like, if you feel alone, there are people out there in the world that are going through the same things that you're going through, and if not, there will be people out there that will hold your hand through your transition if you plan to pursue it, you know? So don't be scared of expressing who you are, because that's what makes everybody different. And if we were all the same, that'd be pretty boring, right? So
I agree with you on that.